Live from Darfeasy Studios in Eddyville, Kentucky. It's time for another episode of Darfeasy's TV Recap. Tonight, winners go to war against each other. What the hell's gonna happen? Jughead's dead, and the Doctor faces off against two gods. Your host, Darfeasy. Hello, Easy Nation, and welcome to another episode of Darfeasy's TV Recap. So, like I said last week, I'm a little behind, on my TV recaps, but I'm slowly catching up, and I will kind of be caught up, but I kind of won't be because I won't get my next episode out on my usual release date. But I'm hoping the next episode I will be able to get the next episode out on my regular release date on Sundays around 12 o'clock p.m. But for now, let's talk about some TV. So the first show we're going to talk about is and we're talking about Doctor Who Season 12, Episode 7. Can you hear me? So the Doctor takes the companions home to Sheffield. They're kind of just, recapping with their life, what's going on, and basically there's something going on. There's this god character who is preying on people's fear, and then it basically has this other god character who had basically tormented this world, and they create a trap to encase her in. That way this one god character would have no one to play with. And so, because these god characters have basically tortured these souls for their entire existence of their planets, and so basically they're going to try to save them to Earth. And it was a cool little episode. It's kind of cool to see like these entities. It kind of reminded me of like an episode of Clone Wars, the Mortis episodes. And I thought it was a cool little Doctor Who episode. I mean, I thought this episode was good. Like last week's episode, Doctor Who, I thought was one of the worst episodes I had seen. And this episode brought it back home, and I'm ready for these last 3 episodes to watch and see where we end off of this season of Doctor Who, and maybe say, alright, Jodie Whittaker, I like you as a Doctor. Let's move on to Black Light in Season 2, Episode 13, The Book of Markovia, Chapter 4, Grab the Strap. So, this episode was kind of cool because you see Black Lightning and this crew of heroes go off to Markovia to rescue Jefferson's wife and also some other characters. So, it was a cool little episode. I thought the action was very, very cool in this episode. It had some cool little moments. And to see the black hero or the black villain from Markovia, who is basically the movie Push. In the movie Push, where the guy could push ideas into people's brains. That's basically what this villain was. And I thought it was a cool little episode. I guess Tobias didn't get rescued by the heroes. They kind of left him in Markovia. I think. I don't believe they picked up Tobias. They might have. I may have missed that. But overall, it was a good episode. I thought the action was pretty cool. I'm curious to see where the end of the season comes up, because we don't have that many episodes left, I don't believe, because usually Black Light is only about 16 episodes a season. Let's move on to The Flash, Season 6, Episode 11, Love is a Battlefield. So this episode of Flash, we bring back Omni-Net's character, Katie Sackhoff's character. Basically, her and Goldface, Gold Chain. Be honest with you, I do not remember the Gold villain. I mean, I guess these CW shows are kind of forgettable in a sense, but I thought it was cool. It was cool seeing Katie Sackhoff back, because we haven't seen her since Season 4, I believe. And it was cool seeing her character back, even though she's not my favorite part. But then we see Iris, she's like, I want to get involved, and we're like, Iris is a little different. And Aries like, she's a little different. Oh, she just changed and everything. And then you look in the mirror, and it's not Iris. It's the Mirror Universe version of Iris. Because it's not Iris. Da, da, da! So, yeah, not a bad episode. Let's move on to Legends of Tomorrow, Season 5, Episode 4, Slay Anything. I really like this episode of Legends of Tomorrow. And these episodes of Legends of Tomorrow can be really fun little sci-fi TV. Basically, there's a serial killer who's come back to life this episode of Legends Tomorrow. So they go back to the high school reunion, or they go to the high school reunion where he's stalking their prey, and then they're like, well, what if we change the guy's past to make him a better person. Kind of like kind of reminds me a little bit of the Doctor Who episode where the Doctor goes back in time to change basically Scrooge, do the Christmas past, Christmas present, Christmas future story. I really liked this episode for that, and I liked how they go back in time. It had a little mix of like a John Hughes meets John Carpenter, and it was the funniest line the whole episode was, John Hughes just became a John Carpenter film. And he even had like that kind of Carrie moment in this episode. And then the killer turns out to be, then whenever they change the guy's future, it turns out his mom was now the killer. So it was kind of that was kind of an interesting way to go with this episode. Cause, you know, in like, Psycho to Jason, the killer was his mom. It wasn't actually Jason. So I like this episode of Legends of Tomorrow. Let's move on to Riverdale, Season 4, Episode 13, Chapter 70, The Eyes of March! Alright, so this episode of Riverdale, this is the penultimate episode of where we find out how Jughead gets killed. I guess. I mean, I'll believe Jughead's dead at the end of the season, I guess. But basically, Jughead is trying to figure out what's going on with Brett and the Skull group, and they are basically saying that he plagiarized his material, and Jughead's just like, you know what? They threatened Betty, and he's just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna leave. They go to a party. All four of them do, and I guess the one girl activates Betty's conditioning from the farm, and she kills Jughead, I guess. I'm curious to see where they go with this, because maybe he's not dead, maybe he's not, maybe they faked his death. I'm curious to see what happens the rest of this season of Riverdale. And also, you see Veronica, she's fired up her dad to compete against her in her rub business to get him fired up and stay alive. Now let's get to the theme of the episode, Survivor, Season 40, Episode 1, Greatest of the Greats. Wow, what an awesome premiere of this season of Survivor. I thought this episode was awesome, be honest with you, because it was a 2-hour premiere, which is really about an hour and 20 minutes. And I thought this episode was amazing. I mean, from seeing all your favorite players come back from Boston Rob. I thought Boston Rob was so out of shape. And it looked like he had a little gut, but he carried that team to win that second immunity challenge. And I was really impressed with Boston Rob. And the tribal councils were very fun. I liked how everyone was so paranoid. And like the funniest moment was when Boston Rob and Parvati are just looking at each other going like, wait a minute, are we the targets? Are we the ones? Are we being punked right now? This isn't happening, right? And so it was cool to see that. It's cool to see Boston Rob and Party playing with each other, because the two are each of them are so big of threats that they kind of have to work with each other. And then so the first person that went home was Natalie, and it was sad to see her go home, but we have the Edge of Extinction, and she has the power to influence the game by fighting like these days. So I kind of like the Edge of Extinction better this season than I did the first season. We'll see how it plays out. I still only went for the first half of the season. I know that's not going to happen, but I did like this episode of Survivor. Also, Amber goes home, and it's sad seeing Amber go home because, you know, I think Amber was maybe just a little out of shape for Survivor. Not physically. I thought physically she still probably had it, but mentally she just wasn't there where the other players were. And it's just because it's just a different game than it was 13 years ago. So it's sad to see Amber go home, but she might come back. You never know. And really, I think Amber would have had a better game if Boston Rob wasn't in this season. But you can't do a Heroes season without Boston Rob, or a Winter season without Boston Rob. Let's move on to Yale Shell, Season 3, Episode 15, A Boyfriend's Ex-Wife, and a Good Luck Head Rub. Funny episode. Very funny episode. Basically, Meatball's character connects with her boyfriend's ex-wife, and they basically go out drinking, hanging out, and it was a funny little episode. And then Dr. Sturgis shows up, and they're all at the bar, and I love that guy who plays that character. Also, this episode, we see Sheldon. He's in a group project. You know how he feels like working with people. Not just these people in general. It's a very funny episode. Let's move on to Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Season 7, Episode 3, Pimento. Funny episode. Pimento shows up. Basically, he's having memory loss, and it's kind of funny episode where Jake just keeps wanting to bring up the movie Memento, and it's like, oh, it's like that movie Memento. He's like, well, I've never seen that, and they're like, well, it's like Finding Dory. Oh, just keep swimming, and Jake's like, oh, and also the HR guy comes to the NineNine to do a seminar, and it was a funny little moment of the episode. I really liked this episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Let's move on to Star Trek Picard, Season 1, Episode 4, Absolute Canon. This episode was very good because we see more of the flashbacks of Picard before he left the Federation. And it's basically he goes back to the Romulan village he helped set up to try to help the Romulan people when they're trying to evacuate some of the planets around Romulus and help their people out and set up like these colonies, and the Federation gave up on them. And then there's like this little boy who's trained by these female Romulans who can't accept him in his class, but he's just as good as fighting wise. And it was a cool episode to introduce another character, part of the crew. It's kind of like one of those loyalty companion episodes that you would play in Mass Effect 2. And I like this episode. And also 7 and 9 shows up at the end, saves the ship and the crew of these rebels, I guess. And I'm curious to see more of this episode of these next few episodes of Star Trek Picard. Let's move on to Diary of a Future President, Season 1, Episode 5, Whistleblower. This episode was cool because first off, you have the girl. She doesn't like the mascot of her school. She thinks it's a kind of sexist, and I mean he is, and everything. So she's going out to try to help. So she's trying to do it the right way, get 100 signatures, start a petition, and she realizes it's going to take longer than what she wants. So she wants to change right now. So she's like, I'm gonna pour a bunch of orange juice and hit the mascot with it. So yeah, it was funny. And then she hits her ex-best friend, and then her brother is playing tennis, and basically the way his name is spelled was always misspelled his entire middle school career, and it always pissed him off, and he finally got it right, and everyone keeps calling him Worm because there's like a little worm that hang on his shirt, and so he gets a little down, but he finds a way to beat the other school. So yeah, good episode, Diary of a Future President. Let's move on to My Hero Academia, Season 4, Episode 16. I don't have the title of the episode because the site I watched, My Hero Academia, didn't give me the info of the title, so I'm sorry about that. But the episode is Bakuto, Shoto, all of them are they're training the provisional, trying to get their license, and the funniest part about the episode is all these kids show up, and Bakuto's like, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get the ringleader, we're gonna throw rocks at him, and then we will bumble these kids down. And you're just like, okay, man, I don't think that's the way we need to go, and it's just them trying to deal with kids. I mean, it was an okay episode. It's just kind of a throwaway episode, but I understand you have to have these throwaway episodes, especially how good the arc was this season of My Hero Academia. So guys, that is another episode of Darth Easy's TV Recap. Guys, I hope you all enjoyed the episode. Also, make sure you check out my other podcast, The Easy K Show. This week, me and Rain Case break down the top 10, or actually, we already had that episode. So, actually, this episode we talk about who wins the best picture for the Easy Cage Awards. So check that out right now. It's right on the Darth Easy YouTube channel. Also subscribe to the Darth Easy YouTube channel for movie reviews. Right now, I'm still in a slow phase. I was going to go to the movies yesterday, but I just didn't feel like it. I just was like, do I really want to go see some of these movies? Or do I just kind of want to sit at home? Having one day off sometimes just really sucks. So guys, until next week, all too easy.